You know, we live in a world where narratives matter. Whether you are the leader of a country, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a CMO, whether you're a business leader, narratives matter. And the attention spans are very, very short. So the power of storytelling can make a brand stand apart and communicate its core values and continue that relationship with the consumer. Uh, Pidilite has done that very successfully, though you've been at Pidilite only for less than 8 months. But tell us, what is your impression of the brands now that you're inside and leading them? Vis-a-vis, what was your impression outside?
Firstly, thank you, Dr. Batra, for having me here. It's a real pleasure and honor to be with you. And thank you for starting off the day with some real positive vibes, especially the collection of books and sharing your own wisdom. So real pleasure to be here. Talking about brands, that's something very close to my heart. As you said, it is all about storytelling, but my own view on this is brands resonate, and today I can proudly say that Fevicol is not just a Pidilite's brand, it's a people's brand. It's so much weaved into the culture of India that you hear it being mentioned by the politicians, it is being mentioned in the parlance, and it is also mentioned in Bollywood. So one of the secrets is that you need to find how is the brand mattering to people and in their lives. And I think what Pidilite has really done well over the years is, I think at the core of Pidilite is to actually find underserved and sometimes even under-noticed categories, providing solutions, and then making those solutions matter to those people. So it's been a continuous journey, and I would say Pidilite is journey on Fevicol, for example. We are in the 65th year, and over the last 65 years, Fevicol has always been at the leading edge of spotting what is the trend and where is the underserved need. And then who could have imagined that a white glue can be so integral to the society? And a lot of storytelling, as you rightly said, has to be around our day-to-day lives, authenticity, and basically cultural observations, and finding ways and means to make the brand matter to people.
Beautiful, Sandeep. Sandeep, you come from a true blue-blooded background of being in environments where brands have built businesses, so to say. And as I talked about, the role of a CMO is to create growth. We'll come to Fevicol and Pidilite. But what is happening to the role of a CMO? CMO is a growth enabler, growth creator. How do you see the role of CMO evolving from here on?
I think the role of CMO is as integral to any corporate, not just in growth. The role has evolved. Typically, people believe that brand communication is a large part of a CMO's role. Actually, it goes way beyond it. The key CMOs, I think one of the biggest responsibility is that you can't miss a trend, and spotting the right trend.
Spotters.
Spotting the right trend is becoming so important. If you miss a trend, it becomes extremely costly for any corporate to come back, and therefore it means you are in touch with your consumer, you are listening to them, and more importantly, even dictating the innovation funnel that you will put together. And it's not just about spotting a trend, but category creation has become so important in market development, and that encompasses not just innovating, but also educating consumers. As you rightly pointed out in the morning, sustainability. The CMOs have to ensure that the ecosystem is actually answering to creating sustainable solutions and not just product features. And last but not the least, the way tech and marketing are kind of blurring the boundaries. I think the CMOs have the responsibility to be even on the leading edge of tech, because the attention spans are going down. How do we get consumers to follow you or be interested even in your brand, or even for the brand to become meaningful, requires each of the formats, communication formats, to be changed, or the way we are actually engaging with consumers. So engagement platforms through tech. So I think it's become very manifold. It's become as integral, let's say, as any other function would be. In fact, to be at the leading edge of growth, and even also, I would say, I would go to the extent of saying dictating even the bottom line and not just growth.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. You talked about the fact that a CMO's role is not just communication, it's an integral part, but it's about spotting trends, spotting needs through which you innovate in the product, and what new lines of business that you can create or new usage of the product. You also talked about how CMOs also need to use technology to be able to then leverage that for both decision making and product creation. So clearly you have outlined the role of a CMO as a growth creator and as a business enabler. Now let me come back to Fevicol, Feviquick, and the brands that Pidilite has. These are brands that have become part of households. What are the things that you are doing in your current role at Pidilite as CMO to be able to create deeper connections, meaningful connections with your consumers?
Great question, Dr. Batra. We are actually obsessed with the consumer and the user. I think it starts with that. For us, it is very important to listen to what the needs are and what the needs are evolving, and I'll bring it out with a small example here. You know, one of the things that we are finding is millennials, for example, are behaviorally very different from their parents. And that is reflected in something called as a replacement cycle of, let's say, interiors or furnitures. You know, earlier, my parents used to think, okay, if we buy a furniture or get something made, it should last us for about 25, 30 years. Now millennials want a higher degree of change. You know, if you go to the metros, in fact, every 5 years people want their furniture to look and feel different. Now, in order to kind of serve this need, which wasn't existing about a decade back, you know, Fevicol has innovated with a solution called Fevicol Relamp, which means you don't need to discard your furniture. You can change the look and feel whenever you want, with the minimum hassle, without even shipping it out. You know, it has to be done within the home. Now that's an innovation which will come into play only if you are listening to the consumers and understanding what's the new needs. So one of the things that we are very obsessed with is what are these changing trends and how can we design solutions and create brands out of them that keeps the brand contemporary. So as we said, Fevicol Mazboot Jod is something that's been there for 65 years, but now this is another Mazboot Jod that we are trying to do with millennials by bringing in things that they like, by bringing in solutions which they desire. So that's one example.
Beautiful example. Clearly millennials want to upgrade or change the environment every now and then. Let me now come to another. You alluded to the use of technology. Today, the biggest buzzword is generative AI, martech, ad tech. Give us a sense of what is, as a CMO, as a brand owner, as a business owner, what is your usage of martech, and how is Gen AI impacting the way you look at insights, the way you do some of the communication? Are you using Gen AI tools to be able to create communication?
Again, a fantastic one. I think over the years, while brands have been on timeless insights and, you know, finding the right innovation and ecosystem, I think what martech is doing is, firstly, it is helping us speed up, or our speed to market is improving. Just to give you an example, we're using martech to do rapid iterations on creatives to see which creative is working well with which cohort. Earlier it used to be, you have to go for an offline research, find out whether this was liked, disliked. Today, martech is allowing you to to actually check real time, saying what kind of content is making impact. And therefore the speed to market changes for us. The second big thing is on inciting. How do you do real time inciting? And we kind of deploy it not just for consumers, we also do it for users. Pidilite has almost 300 user clubs, which encompasses professionals like carpenters, plumbers. And from them, when we take feedback, we can get that feedback or insights from the remotest part, even sitting in West Bengal rural, we can hear them out. We know the insights, we know the trends, and that spotting has actually aided a lot more. And the third big area where we are leveraging AI is in terms of lead generations. That is actually having an enormous impact on the entire industry overall. Because lead generation, while earlier, and Pidilite is also present in B2B, earlier it used to be a lot about going and having one-on-one contacts with the B2B clients. Now the lead generation is digital, offline, everything pulled together, and then you use MarTech for an effective CRM. So those are three big use cases that Pidilite is leveraging AI on.
Thank you, Sandeep, for making it real. Now, let me ask you, a lot has changed since you joined the profession. You went to XLRI and then worked for Reliance for 5 years, 22 years with Levers. What has not changed for a marketer? What are those eternal truths that haven't changed?
Yeah, I think we were speaking in the morning about Morgan Housel, same as ever.
Yes,
so
I read the book.
Reminds
That's
me
one of
that.
the books being given today.
So what's not changed is the fact that we've got to be authentic with consumers. There is absolutely no leeway for you to be fake or overclaim. I think that has remained the same. What has not...
In fact, just to say, you can't be, because we live in the world of social media. So, in fact, not only it has remained same, the need for that has in fact grown.
Absolutely. I think that's authenticity is there. What has not changed is the need to build trust and reliability with consumers. So if you're promising something, we better live up to it rather than just over-promise. I think that trust and reliability has a higher premium. It used to be there, but in fact, in this cluttered environment where there is a little bit of tendency to kind of over-promise, one has to be really, really careful about that aspect. So I would say those ingredients remain the same. What also remains the same is the need for insights to make or to craft timeless brands. And in absence of insights, it's going to be really tough. Then you are going to be faced with fads rather than create enduring brands. So I would say these three have remained timeless.
Okay, fantastic. And what has changed?
I think a lot of tools. I think the way we are delivering innovations, messages, or even in terms of partnerships, the tools have changed. Like AI for us is a tool which has just accelerated the way we can deliver things, and that has certainly changed. What has changed is the aspiration of the consumer. We are in a growing economy. The consumer aspiration is trending way ahead of where the means are, and therefore how do you satisfy those aspirations. What has also changed is the whole urbanization. It has kind of made it happen that what is available, physically available, mental availability of course has gone up because social media is there, but physical availability requires a faster ramp up. You can't just be a metro player anymore. You've got to be serving the aspirations of every Indian. So I think those are the three big changes I am observing.
Sandeep, what is a typical day for a CMO like? Somebody who has a large portfolio of brands. The brands contribute tremendously to a very large business. It's iconic in some way. What is the typical day of a CMO like?
I think I'll speak for myself. I wouldn't comment on others, but I think I spend about 60% of my time on consumers and what are the consumer trends, what are the unfulfilled needs. That's for me very important because that helps me.
And how do you do that? Do you go out in the market? Do you talk to experts? Do you talk to consumers? Do you look at data? How do you do that?
So it's a mix of both, Dr. Batra. In fact, I make it a point that I travel and meet consumers firsthand. I'm not a very big fan of just reading research reports for it. You get the first-hand feel, and there's a lot that you can observe in the body language when you're speaking to a respondent, rather than just reading a research report. And therefore, there is an unsaid rule in my mind that until I meet 100 consumers, I don't form a point of view on whether it's a trend or a fad. So I try and meet at least or clock 100 consumer hours for any of the categories that I am doing. The second thing is, as you rightly said, there is a lot of insights in data. So spend a lot of time in culling out those insights from data, and then you marry the what you observed in the real world with that data, form hypotheses, sometimes disprove those hypotheses and move on. And then there is roughly about, let's say, 20% time which goes in mentoring and upskilling your team, and there's about 20% time which kind of goes into the stuff which is here and now. So that's how I try and do it. 60% for consumers because that helps you be ahead of the curve and make it a little bit more future-proof.
Thank you, Sandeep. I am a Hindu. I believe in this trilogy of destruction, creation, and sustenance. As a marketer or as a business leader, a lot of your time is about preserving what has been created in the last 65 years. A lot of it is about destroying what is not working or what needs to be refreshed. And a lot of it is about creating future products. Like you talked about the service where you help house owners or home creators recreate their homes with the service that you have. So how much time you spend on future and how much time do you spend on sustenance of what you have?
I'd say I spend, personally speaking, about 50% of time on future facing stuff and about 50% on the present. That balance, I have to keep reminding myself that I have to spend disproportionate time on the future. Because I believe when you're handling brands like Fevicol, Fevikwik, Dr. Fixit, they come with a huge responsibility. And therefore the responsibility is how do you make these brands future-proof? And that's why over-indexing on future trends, listening to consumers, being very close to the users, as we said in our business, it is carpenters, plumbers, even skilled waterproofers. Those are the places where we go and learn a lot more. There are times where, what we had originally envisaged as an application, when we find people actually using the product in much more innovative ways, is an eye-opener. There is a lot of creativity outside than what we just envisage when we make the products, and therefore it is always inspiring to see and bring the outside in.
Okay, Sandeep. Now, Sandeep, one of the biggest themes today is sustainability. I talked about it, how brands can raise sustainability consciousness and organizations can be truly embracing sustainability as a strategy, as a deep philosophy, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in operations, whether it's in communication. What are your views, especially your brands that, the chemicals and so on and so forth? What are your views on sustainability?
I think one big change that we have to do is, sustainability about 4-5 years back used to be an afterthought in all business models. One of the things we need to do is to bake sustainability into the business model. And that's one of the things, like in case of Pidilite, we had defined our sustainability goals for 2030. And I'm happy to say we are trending much ahead of them, sitting in 2025, be it on water conservation in our manufacturing operations, or be it in terms of greenhouse gas reduction. Those are whatever goals we had set out, we are much ahead because we've taken proactive steps. And let me also give an example of end-to-end sustainability with the same example which I gave about Fevicol relamp. Now, the moment you come out with a solution like that, you're actually bringing down the habit of discarding furniture, which itself is a big boost overall, not just in our operations, but behaviorally you are getting consumers to keep, refreshing their furniture rather than replacing their furniture. Now that itself is a big step towards sustainability, and if collectively we all do it together, the impact could be huge.
Sure. Now, let's come to communication. Okay. You work with the top names in advertising, in communication. Have agencies been able to reimagine themselves for a future that may be very different from the past? Are agencies keeping pace, both creative agencies and media agencies, with what's happening with your pace of growth?
I would say the pace of growth is absolutely scorching in terms of what's going on. Firstly, there is this whole convergence between media, entertainment, and commerce. We are seeing it all across. The lines are blurring. And in this space, it is incumbent both for the marketeers as well as the agency ecosystem to step up together. And we are as good as our weakest link in that sense. So unless we all step up together, the pace of change that you need to navigate will always be a challenge. Towards that, I would say the agency ecosystem have really stepped up, and in fact, in some cases, they are even leading the change. I can speak for our agency partners, being Ogilvy and Madison, and they have been absolutely brilliant in terms of not just having the communication space being adapted to what millennials are seeing in the shorter formats or finding social engagement platforms, but even in terms of getting, for example, the B2B marketing completely revamped into getting into AI-based and lead generation. And I believe the agency's ecosystem has actually, there are times when we learn from each other. There are times when, let's say, if we go ahead of the curve, they're very open to learn. When they're finding something new, very eager to share with us, and we learn. So I think it's also a partnership which we are very proud of. Our partnership with Ogilvy goes back about 30 odd years, and that speaks volumes on how partnerships are built.
Beautiful. My last two questions before I take two questions from the audience. One is, in every business, you came from levers, and you saw the impact of D2C brands. There are D2C brands in B2C, but there are D2C brands in B2B. Do you see, I can see the time there. Yes. Ask me to take questions which I would have. Sure. Do you see in this kind of a business D2C players coming up, or the nature of the business is such that it may be tough?
I think the possibility of D2C brands, or let me step back and say, D2C brands make a dent when, let's say, the incumbents are either slow on innovations or they have not been able to read the trends. I mean, that's generally my view. Whoever will be demonstrating more consumer intimacy will win. So irrespective of whether it's a D2C brand or whether it's an organized player, anyone who is closest to the consumers and is able to find a solution and create a brand will win. And that's our firm belief.
My last question, Sandeep. Give us 2 or 3 insights to business leaders in this room, CMOs, people who are watching you on exchangeformedia.com and Pitch on Net. 2 or 3 trends that you can see, which may be small just now, but you see them impacting business in a big way.
Great question, Annurag. This is something that kind of always keeps me busy throughout the day, as I said, and keeping on trends. I think one big trend that we are observing is how over-indexed is convenience for millennials and the younger generation. I think at this point in time we underestimate it, but it will surprise us. The way, and there are early indicators.
The rise of Q-commerce
Absolutely.
is an outcome of that.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think the other piece which is happening is, consumers are going to look for more and more solution finding rather than products. And therefore, what it means for marketeers is you really need to understand consumers as human beings and not just, that you're selling something to them. So, what are the emotional triggers are going to be as important as emotional, social triggers are going to be as important as functional triggers. I think there is more scope to work on that. And the third trend I would say is there is a high-end awareness and sensitivity to sustainability, and it's a trend which is staring in our face. It's something that is important for us to address, as brands have a great responsibility while they serve the consumers.
Thank you, Sandeep. Please give Sandeep a big round of applause.